How you doing, Kanai? All right, let me know when you're ready. Yep. All praises. We in? All right. I just want to convocate with the holy saints. Yeah. How y'all doing? Good. All praises. All right, let's get into it. The title of this afternoon's lesson: Only the Faithful. Only the faithful. Where the faithful at? Okay. All right. I'm going to hold you to it. Do that one more time so I can take it. I can get a snapshot, get you on footage. Only the faithful. Y'all ready? All right. For sure. Let's get into it. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. Book of Proverbs, let's get chapter 20. And let's start with verse 6. 20 and 6.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 6.
Listen up now.
Most men will proclaim every one his own goodness.
Hold on. You said all men?
Most men.
I ain't saying everybody, but most. You know what most mean, right? Okay, so the majority, most men will what?
Proclaim every one his own.
What does the word proclaim mean? Proclaim. Claiming is one thing, but you proclaim it, what are you doing? You letting it be known. You ain't just seeing it behind closed doors, right? Most men will proclaim everyone his own what?
His own goodness.
But a what?
But a faithful man who can find.
So what is this saying? Most people, let them tell it what? Let them tell it they solid. Let them tell it they a real one. Let them tell it all the things that we know that we say, oh yeah, I'm an A1. I'm a real one. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a good friend. I'm a great friend. Right? Most people, this is what they proclaim. Everybody proclaims their own goodness. Oh yeah, I'm good at this. Oh yeah, I'm good at that. You could depend on me. But a what?
But a faithful man who can find.
But the Bible says, yeah, all of that, yeah. But a faithful man, a faithful person, who can actually find?
Right.
How many people do you know right now? And then if you had to actually declare which of them have actually been proven to be faithful to you, how many people out of all the people that you know would be deemed as faithful? Would it be the majority? Raise your hand if it's less than 50%. What if is it less than 40%? Is it less than 20%? Less than 10%? Less than 5%? Less than 2%? All right, something to think about. The Bible says a faithful man who can find. Good luck. Good luck. Faithful. What does the word faithful mean? Because sometimes I'm assuming that you guys know what faithful means. What does faithful mean? Devoted. I like that word. I like that word. Devoted. Loyal. I like that word too. Those probably my two top words. Devoted, loyal. What else? Committed, dependable, consistent. I like all them words. Reliable. I like that one too. What else? Diligent. I like that. What else? Trustworthy. I like that. What else? Huh? Steadfast. That's another good one. Steadfast. Long suffering. Okay. All right. I can work with that. So, let's go to the book of Psalm. Psalm. If you ghetto, you say Psalms. If it's more than one, then it is Psalms. But when you go into a book of Psalms, it's actually Psalm. Psalm chapter 12.
Psalms chapter 12, verse 1.
See, you did it. It's all good. We all do it. Go ahead.
Help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth.
Do you hear what's being said? Help Yahweh, for the godly man ceaseth. What a godly man. So the Bible already said it's hard to find a faithful man. Then he said the godly man, they extinct. They cease it. Where they at? I'm having a hard time finding them. But how many folks say they godly? How many folks say they spiritual? How many folks say they got a personal relationship with God? Huh? How many? Let's read it one more time.
Help, Yahweh, for the godly man ceaseth.
Go ahead.
For the faithful fell from among the children of men.
He said the faithful fell from among the children of men. It's hard to find. And it's crazy because you got a whole church full of folks and everybody say they faithful. But this Bible said, man, y'all, this church must got something real special. We got so many faithful people here. For the faithful fell from among the children of men. Read.
They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor.
Now, what is this about? They speak vanity, every one to his neighbor. What does that mean? They speak vanity, everyone. Huh? Useless information, okay. Give me some examples. I take that. What else? They speak vanity, everyone to his with his neighbor. The conversations are not really productive and not about building. I'm in the truth. In the truth, there'd be a whole lot of conversation going on about stuff that's really not beneficial. Is that your experience? That's what the Bible said. They speak vanity, everyone with his neighbor. Read.
With flattering lips.
Uh-huh.
And with a double heart.
Double heart meaning a double what? Go ahead.
Do they speak?
So he said with flattering lips. Flattering lips is what? It sound good. What you saying is sound good. Flattering lips and with a double heart. Speaking of the mind, with a double heart do they speak, meaning in one moment you're saying this and it sounds like you think like this, you in this spirit, but in another moment that I catch you, you're not in the same spirit. You're not saying the same thing. You changed your tune. Only the faithful, right? But where the faithful at? Where the faithful at? Stay in Psalms, get chapter 78. Y'all ain't gonna be mad at me after today, are y'all? Raise your hand if you promise you ain't gonna be mad at me. I ain't see all y'all hands go up. Psalm chapter 78. Let's start at 55. We're going to read 55 through 64, then we're going to jump back up to 37. 78, 55.
The book of Psalm, chapter 78, and verse 55.
Yep.
He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents.
Who this talking about? Most High, right? Yahweh. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Meaning what? Huh? No, we in Psalm. Psalm chapter 78. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, talking about the children of Israel literally getting their inheritance of land. You sitting up here talking about, I want a house one day. How about I want my country back? My tribal territory. How about this? I can't wait to hear what tribe I'm from again, so I can. Don't nobody want that? And not sitting up here claiming a tribe because it make you feel good, but actually knowing you of this tribe when you finally get that information. And to be able to live among your tribe. That's big. We don't appreciate that. We don't even like living amongst this tribe. Come on now. Can I keep it real with y'all? Let's go. Let's read. 56.
Yet they tempted and provoked the Most High God, and kept not his testimony.
So after all that the Most High did for us, the Bible is saying the Most High went all this way to make sure you had everything that you needed and more. And even after he did what he did, right? What did we do? Tempted and provoked the Most High. And we didn't keep his testimonies. Read.
But turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers.
You see that? We deal with the Most High unfaithfully like our unfaithful forefathers did. Did you know that? Ain't that something else? How, does it hit? Like, I mean, it hit to me. I don't know if it hits you guys the same way that it hits me. But turned back and dealt unfaithfully. How do you deal unfaithfully? When we talking about dealing, what we talking about?
Our actions.
How you move. What are your actions? How do you move?
Right.
How do we move once we find out we Israelites?
Initially?
Period. How we Everybody close your eyes for a second. Close your eyes for a second. Just listen to what I'm saying. Imagine. Wipe your mind as if you never knew you were an Israelite and you're just now finding out in this moment right now. Can you imagine what things are going to be now that you know that you are the chosen people of God and that you got the kingdom of heaven and the entire earth coming to you and that you got this great history? How is life going to be as an Israelite? Think. Now open your eyes. Is that your reality? Some of you guys remember at the moment when you found out you was an Israelite, you was like, oh, it's on. And then you found out that we the Israelites. And you went out on the street and realized that we the Israelites. Mm-hmm. You went back to your job and realized that you still an Israelite. Looked at your bank account and found out you was still an Israelite. Let's read.
Verse 57. But turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow.
Like, hold on, and was turned aside like a deceitful bow. Why? turned aside like a deceitful bow. What's a deceitful bow? I know I'm asking a lot of questions. Oh, oh. So your bow is off, and when you aiming at what you aiming at, it's so you thinking you about to hit your target, but you hit somebody else. That's bad for business, right? Okay. So what you do? Put that thing to the side. It ain't no good, right? Said we turned aside like a deceitful bow. So what you say you gonna do, you be like, you end up doing that instead. He said, I can't use you. You gonna get me in trouble. I'm gonna hit the wrong targets. How many Israelites we know that's like deceitful bows? Go ahead, let's read.
For they provoked him to anger with their high places and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When God heard this, he was wroth and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity and his glory into the enemy's hand.
You see that? That's what it caused. This is our story. Go ahead.
He gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation.
Jump up to verse 37. Let's read 37 through 39.
For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant.
That's what you have to know. That this is us. This is where we've been, and this is where a lot of us are still at, unfortunately. Read it one more time.
For their heart was not right with him.
Their mind was not right with the Most High. Knowing that what you know now, you should be putting in work like it ain't nobody's business. You should not be nearly as distracted and making nearly as many excuses as most of us are making. If we say we want the kingdom like we want the kingdom, then why are we spending so much time doing everything else besides preparing for the kingdom? Make sense of that for me. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they there's that word. Who said steadfast? Neither were they steadfast in his covenant. Word steadfast meaning what? Unmovable, faithful. All these, it's just it's a synonym for faithful. A lot of us are not faithful when it comes down to the covenant, the agreement, the arrangement that the Most High made with us as a people. For some reason, we almost feel as if we kind of get a pass that we really don't care whether or not someone else gets that pass, but we just feel like we got that pass somehow, some way. You feel like the Most High is just somehow, some way going to decide to wink at your folly. Why is that? Why? Anybody, please, somebody tell me, why do we do that? Why do we feel like that? And it's crazy because some of y'all saying, I ain't never said that. That's an Israelite way of thinking. Because you probably have never professed that out of your mouth, but that's exactly how you process things. Read. That was all I needed. No. To
Verse
39.
38.
Yeah.
But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath.
You see how the Most High gave that mercy? And for some people, this is enough to make them cry and say that I want to return the favor. There's not enough that I can do, but let me at least try. Unfortunately, some Israelites don't think like that. Some Israelites think, well, he had mercy then. Maybe he'll have mercy again right now. And don't realize that now is the time for you to do your part because time is almost up. There's a blessing in regeneration. You've been allowed to go through this and do this a few times now. How many of y'all know that? Some of y'all might not know that. You've gotten a chance to do this a number of times. This is the time you better make sure that you finish strong, that you better make sure that you make count. And how are we doing with that? If I was to tell each and every one of y'all that this is your last day on this earth, how would you live your last day on this earth? But we don't take it to heart that this is your last life. This is your last life. It's your last opportunity. And the reality is, you don't know if you're going to live the next hour. Someone can drop dead in this building. They may not even make it outside of this building. But there's a lack of the other F word. Fear. There's definitely a lack of faith. That's why we call this only the faithful. But there's a lack of fear. Go ahead and read.
For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passeth away and cometh not again.
See, the Most High understood that, and that's why the Most High has been more merciful than what you can ever think. When somebody doesn't realize this and they begin to talk about, oh, if there was a God, why would a God do this, this, and that? It just shows how much that they don't know anything. They're oblivious as to what's really going on. To not acknowledge how merciful he's been. To only look at the things that have been brought upon us according to the scriptures because of things that we've done. Start at verse 1.
78:1.
Yep.
Psalm chapter 78, verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us.
You listening? Listen up, read.
We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praise of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children.
You see that? There's a commandment for us to make these things known to our children. That's a commandment. When you're not spending enough time teaching your children and preparing them for the mantle that it is that they're supposed to take on, to be able to pass them that torch and for them to be ready and willing to accept that, then guess what? Broken the covenant. What good is it if it stops at you, which he's the Most High, all praise be unto him. He's going to make sure that it continues. Because if it had not been for him, if it was up to us, Israel wouldn't exist right now. Because a lot of us gave up a long time ago. A lot of us wearing fringes and we ain't all the way there. Read.
Verse 6, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children.
Because the nature of what it is that we do, you're supposed to pass it from generation to generation to generation. If you're not really all that invested, if it's something that you do in your pastime, we tend not to do well at passing the things that are not as important to us, that the things that we kind of do in our pastime, the things that we kind of hold as hobbies. We don't generally pass those things to our children. They don't pick up all of our hobbies and the things that we kind of do in our spare time. That's not how this thing works. But the things that we are passionate about, that we live every single day, right? And the things that we take them and pull them through and guide them and instruct them. Those are the things that they're going to take, and it's going to be a part of how they live, and they're going to be more inclined to pass it on to their children. You see how that works? How well of a job are we doing? And see, some of us, man, we really got nigga spirits, because you think like, oh, we ain't gonna be here that long. Like, basically, man, what you think? Y'all gonna be here in like 5 years? We're on the verge of World War III, you know? And it's kind of sad, because that nigga spirit, like, basically you almost convince yourself that it's not really important that you go above and beyond to pass it on to the next generation, and to suffer the discipline that these laws come along with. That makes sense? Let's read.
That they might set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God.
Not they hope in a job, not they hope in the bag, not they hope in entertainment or whatever, but their hope should be in the Most High. How they hope gonna be in the Most High, and they don't see your hope in the Most High? When you got a problem, you don't go to your knees and pray. You don't think to fast. You don't show that you okay because you know the Most High gonna work it out. So what do you think? What do you think they're gonna do when they meet problems and circumstances? How do you think they're gonna react, and how are they gonna cope? When you got an issue that needs to be solved and you figure only you can solve it, what do you think they're gonna think? That they got to do the same thing. They're not going to lean on the Most High. I'm just saying. Read.
That they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments.
How you going to remember the works of God and be able to teach your kids the works of God if you never read about the works of God? If you missing every now and then, you know, you don't keep this commandment, you don't keep that commandment, or you make excuse to do this when the Bible says you should do that, and they see that, then what do you expect from them? Read.
And might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God.
That's what we dealing with. That's what we dealing with. Go from there. Go to Proverbs 25. That's what we dealing with. Proverbs 25 and verse 19.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 25, and verse 19. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint.
How many of y'all have experienced a broken tooth? Raise your hand up high. Hold it up, please. A broken tooth to make a grown man cry. How many of y'all experienced a foot out of joint? How that felt? Could you depend on either that tooth or that foot? So when the Bible says confidence in an unfaithful man, specifically in time of trouble, is like those things, some of y'all should be able to relate. Somebody should be able to relate. Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a broken tooth. Boy, you get to you can't drink right with that tooth. You sitting up here trying to hold it to the other side. God forbid you forget and drink something cold or hot real quick. You got a sweet tooth and you mess around and forget, and you let that sugar get all in that tooth, boy. Ooh, it's a shock, ain't it? That nerve tell you what's up, don't it? What about that foot? Some of y'all didn't experience. I experienced that foot and the tooth. What that foot felt like. How many of y'all tried? You thought for some reason that you could put pressure on that foot. I did. I tore the ligaments, and just being an Israelite, thought that I'm good. Next day, couple of days, I'm walking on it. I got one of them little makeshift because they couldn't put the regular cast on because it was swollen. It was so swollen, so they couldn't. They had to, the little makeshifts. I'm like, I'm good. I could walk on this. Big mistake. I was down 8 months. So you can depend on those things to let you down. An unfaithful man or person will let you down. Go to Psalm chapter 5. In the time of trouble, you are not in a good space if you have to depend on that broken tooth or that foot that's out of joint. How much more brother or sister that's unfaithful? Psalm chapter 5, let's get verse 8 and 9.
The book of Psalm chapter 5 and verse 8. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of mine enemies. Make thy way straight before my face. For there is no faithfulness in their mouth.
What does he mean when he said there is no faithfulness in their mouth? You can't believe nothing they say. Can't believe nothing they say. You ever come across people like that? You can't believe nothing they say. And they be some of the most convincing people. For there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Read.
Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre.
What's an open sepulchre? Open tomb, open coffin. Read.
They flatter with their tongue.
Yeah, they talk a good game. They'll motivate the heck out of you. I just don't expect nothing more than that, huh? I don't need it unless you. Yeah, I don't need it. Verse 28. Let's get 20 through 24.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 20.
Yep.
A faithful man shall abound with blessings.
So the Bible says a faithful man, on the contrary, will abound in blessings. Abound in blessings. How many of us is abounding in blessings right now? Okay, all praises. They said, man, Tazai, want quit giving us them trick questions. Go on and say it. Go ahead, read it one more time.
A faithful man shall abound with blessings. But he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent.
Why does the Bible say this? A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but the contrast, he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. How does that correlate? But how do these two things correlate though? In verse 20. Because I'm going to tell you what that faithful man represents. Go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to help you out. A faithful man, in contrast to he that maketh haste to be rich. What's the correlation there? They contrast. Exactly. Yeah. Anybody ever taught you that it's better, like that quick money ain't good money? Take your time, build it, get it on the back end, the whole nine. Exactly. But some of us have that mentality, and we've learned that, oh man, I got to find a quick way to do this. And the Bible is letting you know, it says, he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. You're going to wind up in some mess trying to, quote unquote, get it the fast way. Hit a lick, come up, whatever the case may be. Could be in that field, selling drugs. It's a lot of things that we've done and we still do to try to do things the quick way. I'm going to tell you what field that we don't realize that we try to do things the quick way more than what anybody else would think or even imagine and even admit. When it comes to people, especially our own people, we want to do it the quick way. We want to be gratified rather quickly. And a lot of times we don't want to make the type of long-term investments and go through the process of building with and helping to build others. And we end up having problems because of that. We oftentimes want to connect with somebody that we feel is going to help us get up quick. Right or wrong? Go ahead, let's read.
Verse 21. To have respect of persons is not good. For a piece of bread, that man will transgress.
For a piece of bread, that man will transgress. In other words, it don't take much. It don't take much. Be breaking laws quick. For a piece of bread, read.
He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not that poverty shall come upon him.
Because see, that whole saying that patience is a virtue, when you learn discipline and you learn to be faithful at something, that it's going to take time to embrace that process and work at it, there's a level of wealth that comes along with that. And oftentimes in today's age, a lot of us are not being taught that. Our heads are not being bowed for that process. So by the time we become, quote unquote, adults, we feel like, because we watch television, right? We got social media, and you get a lot of instant gratification. It's whatever you want right now. If you don't want to be lectured, you go out of that video and you go to, the funny videos. You go look up Funny Marco, or who else y'all like to watch. Look up some Kevin Hart and laugh, and got your instant gratification. So we're programmed like that. So everything we want it quick. They make you think like that with these rappers. Oh man, these rappers, they started rapping, and all of a sudden they just start giving them millions. Let them tell it. Let them tell it. All you gotta do, oh man, you want to make $1 million? All you gotta do is print up the T-shirt. Boom! I sold $1 million my first year. Everything is like that. Let them tell it, and then until you do it and you find out it didn't work like that. It didn't work like that. So the Bible is just giving you that principle, like. Because the Bible, the Most High knows his creation. And that was never the environment that we lived in as a nation when the Most High had us in our land, living amongst our tribes. But now we're amongst the heathen, and they make a profit off of getting you to believe the folly that you believe. Getting you to buy, that's the key word, to buy into whatever it is that they have to sell. I got a bridge to sell. Bridge usually costs $10,000, but I'm gonna give it to you for $2,000. How many of y'all have been scammed? Let me see how honest y'all are. What you been scammed with? I remember, man, we thought we was buying, man. We thought we had to come up. We thought we was buying some guns, boy. Man, we was like, man, it's a steal. Look, they gonna be real in there. Man, we got them guns. What they look like? I'm pretty sure amongst the body here, there's plenty of stories that y'all can share. A lot of us up in here have gone through the process of being scammed. Because we got sold on something. Read.
He that rebuketh a man afterwards shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue.
He that rebuketh a man afterwards shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue. When you got a friend that actually say, and it ain't always right for them right on, like at that moment to bust your bubble and to bust you out in front of everybody. But after the fact, they make sure that they come, hey, I got to keep it real with you, bro. Like, hey, sis, like that ain't it. Like you off or whatever the case may be. That's more beneficial than somebody that's just going to always tell you, oh, yeah, nah, you solid. And then you look back on yourself and say, why you let me do that? Like, I might not tell you in front of the whole audience that you got a booger on your nose. But at least by the time I get you to walk out, I should say, hey, go get some tissue and get that off your nose. Now, if I let you come back and walk back in again and you still got that booger on your nose while you sitting up here thinking you giving the googly eyes, what kind of friend am I? Read.
Whoso robbeth his father or his mother and saith, it is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer.
See, we got to be careful because a lot of us will rob our father or our mother. Nah, I never do that. You rob the Most High all the time. Will a man rob God? Come on. Be honest about it. Go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel. Chapter 2. 1 Samuel chapter 2, let's get verse 34. We're going to read 34 through 36.
The book of 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 34. And this shall be a sign unto thee, that shall come upon thy two sons, on Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall both die of them.
Go ahead.
And I will raise me up a faithful priest.
He said, and I will raise me. I'm going to do that so you know that it's me dealing with you. And then he said, and I'm going to raise me up a faithful priest. Go ahead.
That shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever.
I want to know who got that. A lot of y'all didn't catch that. Read it one more time, verse 35.
And I will raise me up a faithful priest, that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind.
A faithful priest that will do according to what is in his heart? In his heart? The faithful priest is going to do according to what? Because here's the thing. What's the job of a priest? On behalf of who? So a priest is a mediator, right? And who are they mediating between? What two parties are they mediating between? The Most High and Israel, right? But in that relationship, right, one entity are the benefactors, right? But who's making, the calls and declaring what things should be? Who's giving the command? The Most High is, right? So it says, and I will raise me up a faithful priest that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. That's the thing that we don't get. Because the Bible says that we're supposed to become a nation of priests. You know that, right? A nation of priests. What does that look like? Are you guys ready for that?
Does that go with hand in hand with the verse that say, "Let's make man in our image" or something?
Now it's literally some scriptures that talk about literally the nation of Israel will be a nation of priests, and I think First Peter, but also in the Old Testament, like literally we'll be a nation of priests. So when you understand what it means to be a priest, right? Is a priest a servant? Priest is definitely a servant, right? Go ahead. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Here's the correlation. You got a priest, right? The Most High tells us all throughout the scriptures that we're to be servants, right? What is a servant? Does not a servant have the same dynamic, or are we not dealing with the same dynamic as dealing with the priest? You usually have two different parties, right? At least two parties, right? And one party benefits from the service, right? More so, right? The other party is the one who assigns or sends the servant. That makes sense. So now, how many of us know, according to the scriptures, that we're servants? Okay. So, how many of you guys have ever gone to a restaurant? All right. How many of you guys have had a server serve you at a restaurant? Okay. What are the expectations of that server who's also a servant? May go by the name of a waiter, but is a servant. Huh? Okay. So are there certain things that are seen by you to be acceptable and certain things that are not acceptable? Raise your hand and tell me one thing that's not acceptable from a server.
Bad attitude.
Bad what? Bad service altogether. Somebody else said bad what? Bad attitude. What else? Being late with the food. Okay. Okay. Who? Not keeping the dirty table, not wiping the table off. What else? Not being clean and accommodating. Anybody else? So let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation where you sat down and you found out that this person was going to be your server, right? And then you see that person and they going to everybody else, but they ain't coming to you? Have you ever been in a situation where everybody else getting brought their food and then you see somebody that sat down after you and they got their food before you got your food? How many of y'all get to talking trash, or you got a spouse that'll be like, I ain't giving them no tip? How many of y'all have experienced a situation where your server go on break during the time where they supposed to be serving you? How many of y'all have gotten your food and something wasn't right and they in front of you just kind of like took it off your plate and gave it back to you? Or you at a fast food restaurant. You say, I didn't want this on my burger, and they scrape it off your burger and try to give it back to you. Yes.
I took the kids to Legoland. The ceiling was leaking. Where we was sitting at, and I told the waiter, I said, "Excuse me, my waitress didn't come back, but can you help me? Because the ceiling leaking, and I don't know what's dripping like from here to our table." And she said, "Okay, I'll let you know." They all got ghosts, like yeah, Legoland. They never came back to me at the kids' table. By the time our food did come, we ate, had a good old time. I made the best of it. I ain't even gonna lie. When I left out of there, I told the lady, I said, "I'm ready for my check." And everybody leaving me hanging. Mind you, we don't leave black people in there. I'm like, I'm trying to be cool. I said, hey, we ready for the check or whatever. They never came back. I ain't gonna lie. I left out there without pants. I kind of felt on the bad, but I didn't feel bad. Because I'm like, man, you never came back. And the ceiling was leaking. You was late with my food. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
So all of that to say this. We all have pretty clear expectations of what we expect out of a server when we go to a restaurant, right? So we should be able to relate. So the Bible says that we're all servants. How has our service been to the nation? How has our service been to the nation? And how does our employer feel about the service that we've given to the nation? Y'all quiet now. Come on, everybody. Everybody has something to say. Why y'all looking down? Look around real quick. Y'all like this. Look around you. Everybody did like this. What happened? That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. You see the correlation. Are we doing enough? Are we faithful servants? Are we being the best servants that we can be? Come on, let's read. 35.
And I will raise me up a faithful priest that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left in thine house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread.
Listen up.
And shall say, Put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest's office, that I may eat a piece of bread.
What's the significance of that right there? We read something about bread in the last scripture that we read in Samuel, right? Or not in Samuel, in what was that? I think Proverbs, yeah. So right here it says, and it shall come to pass. It shall come to pass that everyone that is left in thine house shall come and crouch to him. What does it mean to crouch? To bow down, lower yourself. Crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread. A piece of silver and a... Raise your hand if you want the silver more than you want the bread right now. If you had a good piece of silver that's worth some good little change, and you got this morsel of bread, this little cracker. What you choosing? What you want more? Raise your hand if you want the bread more. I ain't say nothing about spiritual. So raise your hand again if you take the silver over the bread. Thank you. Appreciate the honesty. Raise your hand if you take the bread over the silver. Y'all feel like it's a trick question? Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what the Bible is saying now. It says, and shall say, this is what the people shall say. It already said that they would be offered silver and a morsel of bread. But this is what they shall say. Put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest's offices, that I may eat a piece of bread. Meaning what? It's a prophecy. Things are going to get so bad that you're going to be hungry enough to where you don't care about that silver. That silver is not going to have that same value. And there's other scriptures that talk about this. There's a number of scriptures that talk about this. But when you finally get put in a place where you need that bread in order to survive, you'll be willing to do the work for that bread. So it is a spiritual thing as well, because he talks about that daily bread. Right now, a lot of us, we're not hungry enough because we full off of unspiritual GMO. You eating that bag of Takis. And you thinking, oh, I'm full. Takis and some soda and I'm full. But it's really not doing anything for you. It's not, there's no nourishment coming along with them Takis, with that. Yeah. So people are going to finally understand and elect, like, give me that bread. I'll take that bread over that silver. Because that silver is good for the moment, but there will come a time where that silver won't mean much if you can't fulfill your hunger. If there's no one else that needs that silver, and in the moment everyone's hungry, what's going to be valued? That bread. What did the Bible talk about during the history of the Maccabees? What happened? It got to a point where our people, they opted not to serve in the priesthood. Well, the service of the priesthood is what? It's predicated upon what? Serving the people. And remember, there's prophecy saying that we're going to be a nation of priests. Right now, we're worse than what we were during the time of the Greeks. They began to opt out of being priests in order to be Olympians, to play sports. That's in the book. Yeah. So right now, it's crazy because we're getting an opportunity to begin our work, being priests, basically being mediators for the nation of Israel. It may not totally feel like it right now, but that's exactly what this is, right? You get your opportunity to begin to learn the occupation of being a priest and to do things on behalf of the people, to serve the people. But it's crazy because we're finding out we're Israelites, and then we are finding that it's a lot of us that don't want to serve. We don't want to be priests. How much you pay? That's the problem. But he said the time will come, you're going to get hungry enough and you're going to be happy to serve. Come on now. Go from there. Go to the book of Psalm. We got an opportunity right now to be the first fruits. You're not the first fruits just because you know that you're an Israelite. I'll say that one more time. You're not a first fruit just simply because you know and you've accepted that you're an Israelite. It's not how it works. Psalm 101, start at verse 6. We're going to read 6 through 8. So in Samuel, what we read about the attributes of faithfulness. Matter of fact, hold this real quick. Let's go back so we can make sure that we get that. We're going to come right back to that. Go back to 1 Samuel real quick. I want to make sure that we get that point. 1 Samuel chapter 2.
1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 35. And I will raise me up a faithful priest that shall do according to that which is in my heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever.
So the whole point of this is understanding that when you show the attributes of being a faithful servant, right? The Most High says, okay, I got stuff for you. I got these things that I promised you. We read the book of, I think, Romans chapter 9, and it details what the promises are. You go into the book of Deuteronomy, he says, look, I'll give you all of these things. Deuteronomy 28, I'll give you all of these things if you keep your end of the bargain, right? If you keep the commandments, these are all of the things I'll give you. Then he goes into the curses. If you don't do what it is that you're supposed to do, that you've committed yourself to doing, then I got to give you all of this, and I got to take these things away from you, right? So there are attributes, right, that we have to understand. Let's go back to Psalm 101. So I just wanted to pull that out. Psalm 101, verse 6.
The book of Psalm, chapter 101 and verse 6.
Yeah.
Mine eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, and they may dwell with me. He that walketh in a perfect way.
He said, mine eyes shall be upon the people of the land. No, the faithful of the land. Don't think you special just because you're Israel. Don't think you special just because your name is your government name. Don't think you special just because you got something that people like about you. He says, my eyes are upon who? The faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. Now, who is this talking? This is actually David speaking. And David was one to be seen as someone who was faithful. We'll get that in a second. But David, he says, look, I'm not checking for just all Israel. See, that's the stuff that y'all hear being taught today. That's a problem. That's spreading disease amongst our nation. People telling you, oh yeah, as long as you are Israelite, you good. That ain't nowhere in this Bible. Read it one more time. What did David say?
Mine eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land.
That what?
That they may dwell with me.
He said, I don't want, can I say something for shock value? I'm not trying to dwell with niggas. Definitely not no wicked niggas. He said, I want the faithful to be amongst me, and I want to be amongst the faithful. The people that are going to really serve the Most High. The people that are really going to work. The people that really fear him. Read.
He that walketh in a perfect way, he shall serve me.
I don't want just anybody serving me. Because some of y'all done had a little bit of life experience. Some of y'all have had more life experience than me. You're older than me. And you've been around and have experienced things enough to understand that you can't just hire or trust just anybody to serve you or work for you. Because that's all a servant is. You call it an employee today. You can't employ just any and everybody. Some people, they willing to work for free. But they ain't going to necessarily be the best. The best help. They might destroy your business. He said, give me those that walketh in a perfect way. Those are the ones that I want to serve me. Why? Because he understood that my kingdom will thrive if I have these type of people serving me and surrounding me. And if this is what I'm building from, and we're begetting children from these people, they're going to be more inclined to do what? To follow everything that these scriptures say, not pick and choose. Oh, yeah, they show up to the Sabbath every week, but they don't do X, Y, and Z. Or they do this, they do that, but they don't show up to the Sabbath. No, to do all these things. That's why he said, walketh in a perfect way. Verse 7.
He that worketh deceit shall not dwell within my house.
He that worketh deceit shall not dwell in my house. I don't want anybody that what? It's acting like they keeping these commandments. They got the nerve to put these fringes on and they ain't even keeping all the laws. Right. They looking for an opportunity to break a law and want to make excuse. He said, I don't want that around me. Read.
He that worketh deceit shall not dwell in my dwell within my house. He that telleth lies shall not tarry in my sight.
He said, I don't want no liars amongst me, man. Like, it's no reason to lie. Just tell the truth. That's bad for business. Read.
I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off the wicked doers from the city of the Lord.
He said that I may cut off the evil doers from the city of the Lord. And it's crazy because a lot of us, we don't really get that. It's like, is he talking about heaven or is he talking about back then? What is he talking about? That I may cut off all the wicked doers from the city of the Lord, the city of the Most High. What is he talking about? Huh? Meaning what? He talking about the kingdom or he talking about back then? What's the city of the Lord? One and the same. We going back to that same land. He was talking about that land at that time. That's always been the goal. And that's what we don't realize. We don't realize that that's always been the goal, to get all the wickedness from out of the land. That's what that kingdom of heaven looks like. It's the same land that we're going back to, but without the wickedness. So guess what? You're not going to be able to sneak that little bit of wickedness that you got in you that you ain't. You're not going to be able to get that into the land. You know that, right? Yeah, like you trying to, you got that bag and you putting all of your 7-Eleven snacks or your 99-cent so snacks in your bag, and you know you got confidence that you're going to get it through the movie theater. You're not getting it back to Jerusalem. Do y'all know that? Do y'all understand the magnitude of that? So guess what? Some of y'all, how many of y'all travel? You fly? Raise your hand if you fly from time to time. All right, can you take that big bottle of water, filled up with water, and pass TSA? What you got to do? What you got to do? You got to either drink it or pour it out. Some of y'all, what you do? Some of y'all trying to drink all of it right before you. When somebody said it, he's what? You better pour all that wickedness out before you get to the airport. Somebody to mess around, they had a pocket knife and they forgot they had it in their pocket. And then they realized right before they got the TSA. Get rid of that thing, man. I don't know why we think that we're going to sneak some wickedness into Jerusalem. It's not going to happen. You might as well get used to not having it on you now. Read. Is that all of that? That was it. Go from there. Go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 22. First Samuel, chapter 22.
The book of 1 Samuel.
22, we're going to start at verse 1. We're going to read 1 and 2, and then we're going to jump down to... No, my bad. 13. Yeah, 22 and 13.
1 Samuel, chapter 22, and verse 13.
Yep.
And Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and has inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as at this day.
You see this? You understand what Saul is saying? I don't know if y'all read the story. Y'all never heard the story of Doeg? Nah, okay, you're going to learn about it right here. All right. Saul said unto him, why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, who's talking about who? David. In that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as at this day. So what was Saul saying? Man, why you helping the enemy? Why you helping David? You know David my op. Read.
Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, and who is so faithful among all thy servants as David?
He said, who's more faithful amongst your servants than David? In other words, what is he trying to tell him? We'll figure that out in a second. Read.
Which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thy house.
He said, first of all, ain't nobody more faithful than David. He's a servant of yours, handpicked by you. He's your son-in-law. He do whatever you tell him. Wherever you tell him to go, he does it. He goes at thy bidding, and is honorable. He the most honorable man in here, in your house. And you asking me why I'm helping him? Read.
Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant.
Y'all didn't detect the sarcasm, huh? Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant. Go ahead.
Nor to all the house of my father. For thy servant knew nothing of all this, less or more.
In other words, he said, whatever you got going on, I don't really fully understand. So this is a righteous man of the Most High. I don't know why you tripping. We know. But he's making a point here. Go ahead.
And the king said, thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house. And the king
Saul said, you and all your father's house got to die. Ain't that cold? Read.
And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, turn and slay the priest of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it to me. But the servant of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priest of the Lord.
You see that? See, that's the thing, y'all. I know this. I ain't hooping and hollering like y'all probably want me to. When you this type of faithful, it do something to your enemies. Make your enemies want to take you out. If you ain't getting that kind of energy, you might want to assess your servitude. But see, the flip side to that, you ain't got to worry. Some of y'all say, well, I don't want to be that kind of servant because I want to live. But then at the same time, what you have to understand, that's the type of thing that prompts the Most High to say, oh, yeah, I like him. I'm going to make sure that he's taken care of. I'm going to make sure he's protected. I'm going to make sure that he's okay. And that's what we don't realize, man. You want to be a factor. There's too many Israelites that are okay with being non-factor. They ain't even trying to be a factor. I just want to blend in. Let me be in. I'm an Israelite, but just let me blend in. The object is not to blend in. The objective is not to blend in, right? The objective is to make a difference. That makes sense. Read.
And the king said unto Doeg, turn thou and fall upon the priest. And Doeg, the Edomite, turned and he fell upon the priest.
Because that's one nation that you can depend upon. It's sad. It's wicked. Who Saul turned to? An Edomite. Israel, they understood. They said, we ain't touching David. We ain't touching David for two reasons. Number one, we ain't touching him because the Most High ain't about to tear us up. We fear the Most High. Number two, you didn't want to touch David because if you miss, you know what David had for you. You better read about David. David wasn't he was a problem. He wasn't no joke. But that Edomite, guess what he said? He said, I'll do it. Go ahead.
And he fell upon the priests and slew on that day 85 persons that did wear a linen ephod.
80. 85 people he killed on the spot. Israelites. Go ahead.
And Nob, the city of the priests, smote Salakia. And Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children, suckling, and oxen, and asses, and sheep, with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he seeketh my life. Salaki, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life. But with me thou shalt be in safeguard.
You see the type of Israelite that David was. See, I wanted to read that because some of y'all trying to say, you probably thinking like, why are we reading this? What's the significance? See, it said that David was a faithful servant, right? You read that in what? Verse 14. Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, and who is so faithful among all thy servants is David? But it's not enough just to hear that somebody is faithful. Because Israel, we need to have it spelled out. We need to see an example. This is the type of guy that David was. Then David said, you know what? He did what? All right, I got you. You stay with me. I'm going to make sure no harm comes to you. Because David was that kind of guy. You got to understand, they were out to kill who? David. Other people lost their lives, right? Because of who? David is still in the space like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you're protected. That's the type of friend and the type of brother and sister that you want to have in your corner. And you don't think that that's the type of servant that the Most High wants to have in us? All right. Go from there. 2 Samuel chapter 20. Second Samuel chapter 20. Let's get verse 1 and 2.
The book of 2 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 1. And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Berki, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, we have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel.
So who is this? What are we dealing with right here? Dealing with a man, number one. And what's his name? Sheba. What about him? Huh? He's an Israelite, right? But he's not a supporter of David. He said, we have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So not only is he not in support of David, he's also doing what? He's rallying people behind him to do the same thing, to be against David. Verse 2.
So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri.
So it's actually people that followed him, right? Read.
But the men of Judah clave unto their king, from Jordan even to Jerusalem.
So from those areas, they was like, we sticking with David. It was a divide. All right, drop down to verse 16. We're going to read 16 through 22.
Verse 16. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, Come near hither, that I may speak with thee.
So now, we dealing with a man, or we dealing with a what?
A wise woman.
A wise woman. Because sometimes women be like, okay, I heard all of that. It was talking about a lot of men. We're talking about a woman. Doesn't even give her name, but it's a woman. The Bible calls her a wise woman out of the city. Hear, hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, come near hither that I may speak with thee. Read.
And when he was come near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, saying, They were wont to speak in old times, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel.
Hold on. Did y'all catch that? Then she spake, saying, they were wont to speak, meaning they wanted to speak, right? In old times, saying, they shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. What is she talking about in terms of Abel? Okay. What about that Abel? Okay. What else? Here. I'm gonna see if y'all can pull the correlation together between Abel and David. So let's read verse 19.
I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel.
She said, I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful. There's that word. Faithful in Israel. Read.
Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?
Why is she saying this? Verse 14.
Verse 14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth Makkah and all the Berites.
Actually, start at verse 13 so we can get the context. See if we can get the context. Read.
When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. And he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth Makkah and all the Berites. And they were gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Makkah. And they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench. And all the people that were with Joab battered the walls to throw it down.
So what's happening here? So now you hopefully have a better understanding. What's happening? Are they attacking Sheba? Okay. All right. So so in other words, you got this sort of kind of like civil war type situation, right? And she's almost being caught up in this. So this is why she's responding and saying what she's saying, because they pretty much like, hey, all of y'all, you know, you can die. You can die. So this is her response, right? And go ahead, let's read.
Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, Come near hither, that I may speak with thee.
She said, let me talk to you, please, before you just come and just start killing us. And let me talk to you. Let me see if I can speak a little sense into you. Read.
And when he was come near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, saying, They were wont to speak in old times, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?
You see that? So what did she say to him? What is she saying? She said, you getting ready to kill like a righteous sister. I got children. I'm, raising up prophets. Like, hold on. We still Israel here. Let me see if I can reason with you. Read.
And Joab answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy.
And the correlation with Abel, remember what happened to Abel. She said, now you in the city of Abel, right? Because it's a wise woman of the city of Abel. She said, you got to remember who this city is named after and what happened to him. You guys getting ready to do the same thing? Shed innocent blood for what reason? Read.
The matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, have lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall.
This is a faithful woman. Because, I got to show you the examples through Scripture. Go ahead. Let's see what happens.
Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it out to Joab. And he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king.
You see that? How many of y'all connecting the dots? Y'all connecting the dots? Verse 23.
Now Joab was over all the host of Israel, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada.
That's cool. All I needed was the 22. So her being the type of woman that she was, a faithful woman, right? You got to understand that was not probably an easy thing for her to be able to do, but because she was of a faithful reputation, she was able to reason amongst the leaders to say it does not make sense for all of these Israelites to lose their lives on behalf of a man that's moving in wickedness. They didn't have to listen to her, especially even today, the culture that we have in the Israelite community today that's a little misguided at times. What would they have told that woman? But that woman on that day was able to save not only her own self, but even more importantly, her city of Israelites, of her brothers and sisters. All of that to say, in our faithfulness, we got to understand, before we call ourselves faithful, is our faithfulness something that has a positive, not only a positive effect, but are we faithful unto the saving of the souls of our people? Like, what are we really doing for our people? How far have we been willing to go to make sure that our people have the things that they need to obtain salvation? Because they were saved that day. That's called salvation. Of course, we're looking for the ultimate salvation of us as a nation returning back to our kingdom, right? But yet and still, some of us needed salvation probably not too long ago from some of them bills. You got saved and you felt good when you was able to pay it. So what are we doing? Okay, I can ask you what you've done for yourself lately, but what have you done for your nation? And what are you doing for your nation? And what are you willing to do for your nation? That needs to be the mindset. We've been too selfish-minded for too long, and it's not benefiting us in any way. There's more that we need to do, right? Let's go from there. Go to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 7. Nehemiah, chapter 7. One and two.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 7 and verse 1. Now it came to pass, when the wall was built, and I had set up the doors, and the porters, and the singers, and the Levites were appointed, that I gave my brother Hanani and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace, charge over Jerusalem. For he was a faithful man and feared God above many.
He was a faithful man and feared the Most High above many. And this is to show what? There was a time where faithful men, it was understood, faithful men were chose as leaders. That's still supposed to be the same today. These leaders are supposed to be chosen based off of two main things: their fear and compliance to the keeping of the laws of the Most High, and their faithfulness. You're appointed to be a leader because you have shown yourself to be faithful. That's how it works. So read it one more time.
Now it came to pass, when the wall was built, and I had set up the doors and the porters, and the singers and the Levites were appointed, that I gave my brother Hanani and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace, charge over Jerusalem.
So he was the ruler over the palace, right? He must have done a good job with that, right? He was the ruler over the palace. He said, I gave him charge over Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a whole city. Why? For he was faithful. He was a faithful man, and he feared God above many. Read.
And I said unto them, let not the gates of Jerusalem.
That was all I needed from that. That was all I needed from that. Faithful men are supposed to be chosen as leaders. You don't become a leader and not be faithful, because it's going to be a problem if that be the case. I've seen people choose people and haven't proven them to be faithful, and that usually smells to be a problem. Go to the book of Ecclesiasticus. Y'all do remember everything that we read, right? A lot of lip service people. Everyone will declare their own goodness, right? I could do it out, man. You ain't doing nothing. I could do that with my eyes closed. Ecclesiastes chapter 44. So this is how we're supposed to make sure that we choose our leaders, right? Let's read about somebody that's synonymous with faith and being faithful. Sirach, or Ecclesiastes 44, verse 19 through 23.
Verse 19. Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him.
In glory was there none like unto him. How many of you guys are familiar with the story of Abraham? All praises. Abraham. A lot of people don't know much about Abraham. People don't know that Abraham had servants. He didn't have a couple of people with him. He had a couple of 100 people with him. And they were trained and taught and brought up in the law. All given the circumcision, all of the men. Meaning that they were compliant or had made the decision to be a part of the covenant and prove themselves to be compliant under his umbrella, his authority. Read.
Abraham was a great father of many people.
A great father. He wasn't just a father, but he was a great father. The type of man that you could depend upon to guide you and show you and teach you and be there for you. That's the type of man he was. Because remember, it was a while before Abraham had actually begotten a biological child. Yet he had already been a father to all of these men. Read.
Abraham was a great father of many people. In glory was there none like unto him.
You know, when you go back, read about Abraham. Remember the situation with Isaac. Who was sent to find Isaac's wife? One of Abraham's servants. Read about it. So sometimes we hear Abraham, Noah, but we don't really take the time to really read about the faithful men that they were and how they dedicated their lives to their people and to what the Most High would have them to do and be. They weren't half-stepping. Read.
In glory was there none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him.
He was in covenant with the Most High. Abraham, remember, Abraham, one of the reasons why his faith is highlighted, Abraham literally was born and raised in the Chaldees. And he was told, go back to Canaan. I ain't never been there. What you mean go back? Yeah, you been there. You don't realize it. I know you've been there. Go back home. And he wasn't going into an empty land. He was going into a land that all of these other Hamites had began to inhabit. They were living there. Had giants in the land, all of that. Abraham was like, wherever you tell me to go, I'm going. And it's different when you go on with the homies, but you ain't necessarily the leader. When you the leader, everybody low key. You might have some riders with you, but everybody kind of looking at you like, okay, well, what are we doing? We going there? We gonna face them? Like Abraham was the one to make that call. Yeah, we going. Most High said, go, let's go. We going. That takes a level of devotion. Read.
Who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh. And when he was proved, he was found faithful.
When he was what?
When he was proved.
Israel, stop being mad about being proven. You need to be proved for us to figure out whether or not you faithful. And don't be mad when we tell you you ain't been faithful enough yet. Put in the work. Prove yourself to be faithful. Go ahead.
And when he was proved, he was found faithful. Mm-hmm. Therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from river unto the utmost part of the land.
A lot of us still haven't accepted that our righteousness is an inheritance to our children. We still haven't accepted that. We haven't embraced that idea. Go ahead.
With Isaac did he establish likewise, for Abraham his father's sake, the blessing of all men in the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing and gave him in heritage, and divided his portion among the 12 tribes did he part them.
You see that? Go to Matthew chapter 25, verse 21. and 21.
The book of Matthew chapter 25 and verse 21. His Lord said unto him,
What did he say?
Well done, thou good and faithful servant.
Thou good and what?
Good and faithful servant.
Faithful servant. Read.
Thou hast been faithful over few things.
You've been faithful over a few things. Read.
I will make thee ruler over many things.
Now I'm going to make you ruler over many things. Isn't that what we just read? That's not a New Testament idea. That's a principle that's been around forever, since the Most High created this. Read. Go ahead.
So, with this scriptures, some people feel like they've been faithful, right? Maybe they might have been faithful for a time, right? Mm-hmm. Can you ride that to where you are now? Like, meaning, like, whatever you did, like, last year, you feel like I did enough, but you ain't really faithful to right off that moment. Right off the moment. The things we were talking about earlier.
Heck no, you can't ride off that. There's not enough that we can do. So I know for a fact by default there's not enough that we've done. Mm-hmm. There's not enough that we can do.
So, but give an example, like somebody might say, I gave a donation of $5,000.
You could have gave 20 million. You ain't good for the rest of your life because you gave 20 million. Your congregation may never match that 20 million, but guess what? You still got work to do. A lot of times, see, we look at what we have as ours, and the Most High don't look at it like that. Most High said, I blessed you with that. Now let me see how you gonna help your nation. You still make sure your business is taken care of. He ain't telling you that because he said, look, I give you 6 days. You still got 6. Do what you got to do. Handle your business. He said, but this one I'm requiring. And I don't want to hear no excuses. Israel, we too used to giving excuses. And we got too many online teachers and leaders that tell us that we can make every excuse in the book and it's okay. Because you get more members like that. That's a dangerous thing. You can't play with the law and play with the Most High like that, because the Most High, that ain't what he said. Now he said, now look, if you can be faithful in a few things, I'll make you ruler over many. And that's the way it works. That's the way it works with us. That's the same way that you raise your children. Let me see how you do with this. And if you faithful with that, then I'll give you this. It's a new thing for us to give our kids $1,000 iPads and $500 game systems. When we was young, raise your hand if you over 35. Did that exist during your time when you, as a child? Going to McDonald's was like going to Disneyland. Man, you get a Happy Meal, that was you rolled off of the high of getting a Happy Meal for that month. You got the new toy, things tonight wasn't real back then. We just didn't know no better. Yeah, so that's the way it's always worked, and it still works that way. It still works that way. That was all of that. Did you finish that? 21. Go ahead.
Y'all finish the rest of it. His Lord said unto him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
Come into these gates. This is how we make it in, right? There's a collective work that we're doing to gather the lost sheep of the house of Israel. You don't find out you're an Israelite and then just put on fringes, wear a beard, wear a dress or skirt, and think that's it. That's the prerequisite. Now you got your uniform on. Now it's time to work. People think they got the job and they made it. You didn't get the paycheck yet. You gotta work. You gotta put some hours in. Go from there. Let's go to the book of Nehemiah. We just got a few. We're gonna be up out of here. Nehemiah chapter. I knew what he meant. Look at y'all. Y'all wrong. Y'all so wrong.
All praises for the scriptures. For the scriptures.
Nehemiah chapter 9, and we just need 7 and 8. 9, verse 7 and 8.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 9 and verse 7. Thou art the Lord, the God, who didst choose Abram and broughtest him forth out of Ur of the Chaldees, and gavest him the name Abraham, and founded his heart, and foundest his heart faithful before thee.
His heart, meaning his mind, faithful before thee. Read.
And madest the covenant with him to give him the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, to give it, I say, to his seed, and has performed thy words, for thou art righteous.
See, the Most High said, Abraham, you faithful. I gave you a little. Okay, I'm going to give you all of this now. I'm going to give you their land and their land. You ain't even thinking like that. A lot of y'all, you ain't got enough faith in the Most High to give you an increase in pay, let alone give you somebody else's country. But the Most High makes covenant with the faithful. He makes covenants. He'll make an agreement. He'll make an arrangement with you and for you on your behalf when you prove that you are faithful. He'll not only do that for you as an individual, he'll do that for us as a collective. But we got to show that faithfulness. Let's be faithful over a few things. Why are we so hesitant on doing what we're here for, which is to work, to serve the people, to invest in your nation. Why are we so reserved? Let me not even talk about money. We get to feeling funny when we talk about money. This nigga talking about money again. Make you feel like you're in a bootleg church. I'm not even necessarily talking about money. I'm talking about your whole self. The money ain't nothing when you're invested. And the problem is a lot of times we're not nearly as investing as we like to think that we are. We talk a good game, but that's all we doing. We Charlie Brown. Wow, 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 wow. Y'all know. Young folks don't know Charlie Brown. Look, y'all know Charlie Brown. He done came back up. They done reinvented him. They reinvent all of the old cartoons, so some of the stuff they know. They probably know, but some of the ones that's got some 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, y'all probably don't know Charlie Brown. The young ones, they know everything now because everything come up on they little whatever they be watching, iPads. Yeah. Maybe nephew, he be trying to talk, oh yeah, I know that old jam. Like, how you know that? They soaking it up. They trying to learn. They trying to catch up. 2 Chronicles chapter 34. We don't even have to go there. Go to 1 Corinthians 15 and 58, and I just got one more after that, and we out. 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
And verse 58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast.
Be what?
Steadfast.
There's that word again. Be steadfast. Be ye steadfast. What else?
Unmovable.
Unmovable. Read.
Always abounding in the
Always abounding in what?
In the work of the Lord.
Always abounding in the work of the Lord. Meaning what? This is the answer to what you asked me earlier, Kahan. Always abounding in what?
The work of the Lord.
Meaning what? I did that. You remember what I had did, right? But to abound means to do what? You doing this. You going above and beyond what you already had did. We ain't worried about what had happened. We worried about what you doing now, what you about to do. Always abounding, not in glory, but in the work of the Lord. There's always more work to be done. Read.
For as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord.
And don't be sitting up here talking about, oh yeah, just like the parable. Man, we been here all day. And he get here the last hour. He get a penny like we get a penny, same pay. That ain't fair. How was that fair? They just now coming, and that's why we set a precedence. Visitors eat first. Because it's a lot of Israelites that know they're Israelites. Shalom. And don't even know and practice hospitality. Hospitality is a law. You know that, right? Kindness is a law and a fruit of the Spirit. So we do these things with purpose. We do these things with purpose because it sets a precedence. Scripture talks about how the strong are supposed to be there for the weak. We can't forget those things because when we don't function like that, we're not practicing what it's supposed to be in terms of us being a nation and what it's going to look like back home, Jerusalem, the kingdom of heaven, right? Remember, you ain't going to be able to sneak that wickedness in there. You ain't going to be able to sneak that deceit in there. Your hang-ups and that stuff that you should have got rid of about 5 years ago that you still ain't got rid of, you know you ain't going to be able to get that in there, right? So when you going to let go of it? Last scripture. I like this one right here. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. I like this one right here. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. When you get a chance, read it from verse 1. We're just going to read 7 through 10.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 7, verse 4, chapter 4 and verse 7. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power may be of God and not of us.
It ain't about us, man. Quit making it about you all the time. Well, I'm tired. You don't think Yahweh Shai was tired? If Yahweh Shai was rolling with his main 12, right, and all of them were tired, because we read about how they went to sleep, right, in that moment. He fresh off a 40-day fast. You don't think he was tired? So do we have legitimate excuses? Oh, I'm just tired. I'm just going through a whole lot. I'm going through so much. Y'all just got to understand. I needed a moment. Like, you don't think Yahweh Shai needed a moment? You ain't read about the passion? You don't read about what he was going through? What excuse do you have? You're making too many excuses. As long as there's breath in us and there's work to be done, then what should we be doing with that last little breath that we got? This ain't something that you retire from. Go ahead, read.
We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed.
We are troubled. This is the mindset that we have to have. Yeah, we troubled on every side, but we ain't distressed. In other words, you gotta maintain. You gotta keep your composure. Go ahead. Let's read.
We are perplexed, but not in despair.
Yeah, it's times where we be like, I don't know how we gonna figure this out, but we gonna figure it out. Go ahead.
Persecuted, but not forsaken.
We going through some things. We being persecuted, but the Most High is with us. He ain't gonna forsake us. Read.
Cast down, but not destroyed.
Cast down, but not destroyed. Somebody ought to get this, and you ought to get a vinyl and put this on your wall. Go ahead.
Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Yahweh Shai, that the life also of Yahweh Shai might be made manifest in our body.
That's a heavy one right there. We got to remember, you can't afford, because a lot of us, we just want to be so happy all the time. You got to remember Yahweh Shai's sacrifice. You got to keep that in you on a day-to-day basis to remember, like, our King gave his life for us. He shed his blood for us. For us to do what? What are we doing with the sacrifice that was given on our behalf? When the scripture says we're supposed to go twain with him, what are we giving? And you're not even being asked to shed your blood. As a matter of fact, when you go into it, you get far enough into it, it talks about the fact that other people, their blood is shed on your behalf as well. The ultimate sacrifice was Yahweh Shai. But the scripture also speaks, just like during the time of Egypt, when they left all the Egyptians that got taken out. That was a ransom for the souls of those Israelites at that time. So people are dying out here on these streets on behalf of your transgressions, according to these scriptures. And the ultimate sacrifice, the one that was without sin, who walked this earth, the same ones that he had the biggest hand and created outside of the Most High himself. Scripture talks about it in the book of Colossians and Ephesians, how Yahweh Shai was the one, right? He was the foreman, if you will. And he's sitting up here looking and being amongst this creation only to be doubted and treated the way he was treated. Can you, how do it feel? How many of y'all ever been on a job and you was on that job and you realized that you had a certain level of intelligence that you brought that wasn't being recognized? And you saw a lot of people around you that made way more money than you, but proved themselves just through conversation and the things that they did to not be all that competent. and they tend to do things to talk down on you. How does that make you feel? How did that make you feel, experiencing that? Imagine how Yahweh Shai must have felt. And you get, now that you know that you're an Israelite, and you get the opportunity to actually have what you never thought you'd be able to have. You have an opportunity right now to literally build your own community. Not just in words and, oh, we're a community. No, let's really build. Let's really live together. Let's stop allowing ourselves to continue to build someone else's up and have an opportunity to build our own, so that, guess what? Hopefully, we have it a little easier at maintaining this state of mind. Because one of the biggest reasons why we have a hard time being in sync with this is because of all of the other distractions that we got that we seem not to want to get away from. That's a problem. All praise be to the Heavenly Father.